And here we go. Welcome to Relationship Makeover Summit. I'm Kai Clifford, your spiritual guide, energy alchemist, and your host of this series. And we have the fabulous Leah Marie, a divorce recovery coach. And I'd love you to tell people why your work is so important.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's important because I've gone through two divorces myself, and I know how overwhelming and how isolating it is, and how many big mistakes you can make if you don't have the right guidance and support and tools. And so after I kind of came out the other side from my own divorce journeys, I decided that I wanted to help other women so they don't have to throw spaghetti at the wall and, skip a lot of trial and error and get to that place where they feel good again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like some people feel so pressured to, I feel like there's both. People either feel too pressured to stay in a marriage that's not working, or they leave a marriage that could potentially work. But it's so important to have the support to know that if it's time to leave, it's time to leave. Do you want to speak
Yeah.
about our watchers that may be wondering if it's time to leave their marriage? Like, how do they know?
That's such a good question. Well, first of all, everybody is really different. It's a very unique journey. So it's important that you really touch base with how you're feeling and not necessarily look outside for the answers. But I think you have to ask yourself, what is the likelihood of things changing, or what needs to be changed in order for the relationship to be viable, and how likely are those changes to happen? Um, have you already checked out on some level mentally or emotionally, and you're kind of just going through the motions? If you could, if you had a magic wand and you could skip past that painful 12-month post breakup part, would you exercise that? If you could just skip the hard stuff and get to where you're out of the relationship and feeling good again, would you do that? These are kind of some questions that you can ask yourself to dive deeper to figure out whether or not it's time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I think a big part of it is could be, tell me if you think I'm right or you can expand on it. When you get together with a person, that attraction may be there, but it could sometimes be like you don't have the same values. You might think that it's okay, but yet you believe in vastly different things, or you want vastly different things. One person might want to live in the desert and the other person might want to live in the mountains, or like
Yeah.
something that is so different in your belief system, in your value system, and just can't match going forward. Do you want to speak your thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, and it's so important. I think this is what we talk about when we always tell people to not settle, because you may be finding someone who has a lot of good stuff to offer too. And then there's some other things that you're just almost talking yourself out of and saying, well, that's not what's important, or that doesn't really matter. And a lot of times those are the things that turn into bigger issues later in the relationship. And then you wind up with a breakup or a divorce. So before you get into a relationship with somebody, it's so important to, number one, be so clear on your intentions. Why do you want to get into a relationship to begin with? Are you trying to fill some kind of void? Are you just lonely, or you're bored, or you need a self-esteem boost, or those aren't great places to start to build a foundation for a relationship. And then also you're a lot more likely to settle if you're coming from that place of lack. So you want to make sure that you have high standards, you know what your deal breakers are, and regardless of some of the good stuff that you might find in someone, you just will not settle and sacrifice the things that you know are important to you, because then if you do, you wind up with those problems later on in the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. What about, okay, now this is like a really big topic and can't probably be covered in a short little talk, but what about when you do have that void and you feel like if only I had a partner, because so many of the clients I've worked with and have helped, but like so many they come and they feel like all they need is that love, and they can never actually get it from the partner while they're needing it to fill the void. So what are some steps that our viewers can
Yeah.
take to disconnect the need for the partner to fill that void and to validate themselves?
Yeah. Oh man, it's so important. So that was actually what happened to me is after my first divorce, I did none of the things you're supposed to do. I did none of that internal work or self-reflection or like journaling or just building my self-esteem. All I knew was I didn't want to be alone. And so I hopped right into another relationship and got stuck in that pattern. And then I wound up with a second divorce because that's where I was mentally and emotionally when I started the relationship. So that was my big aha moment. My wake up call was, okay, obviously this approach is not working for me. I need to figure out how to just stand on my own 2 feet, how to love myself, forgive myself, appreciate myself, and just find fulfillment in my life without feeling like I need a relationship. It's fine to want one. You can know that you want to be partnered up with someone, but when you feel like you can't be happy unless, or you can't be fulfilled unless you have a relationship, that's where things can get really tricky, and most likely you'll choose the wrong partner because you're looking for the wrong reasons. So, one of the things that you can do is really focus on hobbies, creative outlets. Figure out who you are. Find the things that you enjoy doing. What are some things that maybe you've always been interested in, but you never pursued because you didn't have the time, or you were worried about what other people would think, or somebody you were afraid of failure or looking stupid. Do that stuff for, get outside of your comfort zone, start doing those things, because it will help you not only find fulfillment and pass the time, it's going to build your confidence and your self-esteem, but then you're also opening up those opportunities to meet like-minded people who do enjoy similar things that you do. So that's so important, hobbies and creative outlets. And it's also just a healthy way to process your emotions. Um, and then getting a support group too, getting support anywhere you feel like you need it. If you are kind of struggling with some of that self-love and self-worth, there are therapists and coaches and support groups and online courses and all kinds of things that can help you by giving you the tools and the roadmap so that you can get to that place where you do feel good in your own skin, and you know what you bring to the table and you know what you want. Because if you don't know who you are, it's impossible to find your ideal partner because you don't know what you need. If you can't fulfill your
Hmm.
own needs, you don't know what you're going to need from that other person. So it really is all about getting to know yourself and learning how to cultivate relationships even outside of romantic relationships. Find meaningful connections with people, with family, with friends, or with just like-minded people that you're meeting through these hobbies and creative outlets. All of that stuff will help you find that fulfillment and learn about yourself, which puts you in the best possible position then to find a partner.
And something that you just said there, and I think this is going to be a paraphrase, but you said if you don't know your own needs, then you can't, get that or communicate that with your other partner.
Yeah.
And that just made me think that that's how we throw ourselves away in a relationship, because we agree to things that we don't really want to do. And you're
Yeah.
like, when you think you're being nice, or which, no, I don't believe in the word nice. I believe in being kind, but I think nice is like sort of that fake thing where you say yes with a fake smile. And I
Right.
think that is what damages a lot of relationships too, is trying to be so-called nice when you're actually not listening to what's really right for you.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I've lost myself in several relationships that way where, I would start to date somebody who loved to ride motorcycles and listen to rock music. And all of a sudden I was wearing, black leather and like listening
Yeah.
to the music, it's like you can, if you don't really know who you are, you're going to kind of mold into this person. And the other thing is, if you don't know how to meet your own needs, what's going to end up happening in a relationship is you're going to rely too heavily on your partner to make you happy and to meet your needs. And that is just not sustainable. And that's not healthy. If you're in a long term healthy relationship, that means that it is with two people who understand that their own happiness is their own responsibility. Their partner is there to just add value to your life. So you've got to make sure that you know how to take care of yourself and meet your own needs. And you're not looking for somebody to do that for you.
That is so important. I remember what, like, some of the relationships I was in the past, that's exactly what I was like really like feeling that angst if we like were in separate parts of the houses, or he wasn't really talking with me much and I was relying on him, and inside I was internally blaming him like from the immature parts of me, the unhealed parts of me. There was like, well,
Mhm.
he should be this. And it's like, no, he shouldn't be anything. It's like healthy relationships, you have your ebbs and your flows, your times when you're together throughout the day, and your times where, especially if you live in each other's pockets, like me and my now husband do, and you'll then, just naturally go to other parts of the house and have your own time. And
Yeah.
here's a really great thing is I noticed that those times when you really want him to be there, you're like, why isn't he just here? If you just internally relax that tension,
Hmm.
take a breath, you'll actually find some things to do. And you'll find that the exact timing that you're apart was actually divine and like what's the word, synchronistic and meant to be. And you'll find
Hmm.
something really good to do if you just let go of needing him to make you happy and you make yourself happy. Then when you come back, you'll be able to, as they say, be his peace because you won't be
Yeah.
nagging him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been in relationships where I was so insecure just from my own lack of self-worth and self-love. And I had abandonment issues from things that happened when I was a child. And so I would get almost panic attacks. I would get so anxious if my partner wanted to go do something without me
Yeah.
because I would just feel like, oh my God, he's going to cheat on me or he's going to leave me or he's going to feel like he likes his life without me and going to want, just all of that internal dialogue that was so toxic and negative. And so the more I learned how to become just secure in myself, the healthier my relationships became. And so now I'm in a relationship where it's such a polar opposite. He sometimes has to travel for work and now I'm just like, okay, well, like when you coming home? Like I just need to know the
Yeah.
dates. Like I don't even know who you're going with, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing. And it doesn't matter because we have that open communication, we have that trust and I'm just secure in myself. And I think that's really key because no matter who you're in a relationship with, even if you feel like it's really healthy, you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know what could happen in relationships. You just don't. I mean, you can hope, but you really don't know. Sometimes somebody might wake up and decide to go make some bad choices that have nothing to do with you. And so it's not about worrying whether or not you can trust or rely on that person necessarily. It's can you trust and rely on yourself? Do you know that no matter what happens in the relationship, you can pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and stand on your own 2 feet again and be okay because you know how to meet your own needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important to learn how to find that within you. Can you speak? Look, what about for our viewers who are in that 12-month painful period? Because you got to let it hurt. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
What solace I'm hearing? What solace and advice can give them?
So if you are coming out of a long-term relationship or a divorce, it's really important first of all to let yourself have that grieving period because it is like a death. And there are
Yeah.
things you're grieving, not only the relationship, but your identity or the future you thought you were going to have, or maybe the house that you had to move out of, or if you have kids and now you have to share custody, you're kind of grieving the loss of some time with them. And so it's important not to skip that part and let
Mm.
yourself feel those feelings, even though they're uncomfortable. But some really great things you can do throughout that process is like journaling. Don't underestimate how powerful and helpful journaling is, really, because it helps you process your emotions, it helps you track your progress. And sometimes it even just gives you answers to things that you didn't know you had in you. Because when you get things out of your mind and onto paper, you can see it from a more objective viewpoint and kind of make sense of things a little bit easier. Getting the support you need, getting outside in nature, moving your body, exercising, getting all of that, all of those happy chemicals going through your brain, that's going to help you fight some of that like depression and anxiety. Also, just mindfulness practices, focusing on doing things that help keep you in the present because if you're ruminating about the past and all of the what ifs, then that's kind of what can cause depression and keep you stuck. And then
Yeah.
if you're worrying about all of the unknowns and all of the fear about the future, that's what can cause your anxiety. So if you can kind of pull yourself out of that thought coaster and bring yourself into the present moment more often, you'll find that you'll feel more grounded and less overwhelmed and you have better focus. And even basic things like make sure you're drinking enough water, make sure you're eating
Yeah.
foods that nourish your body, make sure you're getting enough sleep. Those all have a huge impact on your emotional well-being and how you feel. And so the more you practice self-care and take care of yourself and really just give yourself that time that you need to heal, the sooner you'll feel better and you'll be able to come out the other side and start making those kind of that forward motion towards your new chapter and creating your new life and where you want to go and who you want to be.
Yeah, and I think important to add in here is that healing isn't about rejecting any feelings. It's the opposite. It's about embracing all of the pain. And so we have multiple parts of our personality, just for our viewers who don't know. And you want to actually let yourself feel the pain and like let it throb through your body and hurt and cry, and it's going to be terrible. But then you start, rather than saying, I'm always going to be like this, you bring in, you will say that I'm always going to be like this, say, no, I'm not. And you start talking to yourself saying, one day this will be over. One day I'll find the light. One day something will change. So
Yeah.
yeah, would you like to expand on that for our viewers?
Yeah, it is important because and that's what's so difficult is no one wants to feel uncomfortable. No one wants to hurt and feel the pain. So what we're more likely to do is shove it down or distract ourselves or just don't pay attention to it. But when you do that, you're actually just bringing that pain with you further and further and further down your journey, and it will come out. And usually in unopportune times, like in other
Yeah.
relationships or with your kids or when you're at work or something. So that's why it's so important to just feel those feelings and process what you're going through, because that is what helps it die down. You're kind of, it helps it lose its power over you by giving it that space. And so that's something that you absolutely don't want to skip when you're when you're going through something like a breakup. And that's the time where people are a lot more likely to hop into a relationship too soon, is because it's a distraction, because it's something that makes them feel good about themselves, and because they want to just hurry up and get this part over with and move on. But that's where you kind of get into that danger zone, because then not only have you not healed, but you're starting those relationships for the wrong reasons. And then you'll wind up with another breakup. And sometimes those are even more painful than the one you just came out of, because you're even more
Mhm.
fragile. And a huge piece that is really important when you're coming out of a relationship is self-reflection. And so part of that healing process, it's not just pointing the finger and playing the blame game, because it's easy to do that. They didn't do this and they never showed up for this and
Yeah.
they lied about this. But we all play a role in all of our relationships. So you have to take responsibility for the role that you played, meaning where were you mentally and emotionally when you started the relationship? Were there red flags that you missed or ignored? Were there
Yeah.
boundaries that you shouldn't be setting? Were there could you have communicated better? What role did you play? That is what's going to empower you to make better choices moving forward and help you not find yourself in the same types of relationships over and over again.
Yeah. And oh, what was the part that you just said that I wanted to talk on? The part there, oh, that's right, where it's so easy to blame others. And it could even be that you're blaming maybe him for what he did. And sure, he has his part, he did those things. But
Mhm.
it's so easy I think as a woman to sometimes get in this like sort of bitchy energy and like be sort of
Mhm.
more naggy instead of like coming to that presence and that feminine wooing, like that
Mhm.
wooing and the coaxing of the man, and it's very easy to just get like very, very hateful. So I think that's a really good thing to take responsibility of and then do the healing work, the self-reflection. And I think that's going to tie in perfectly to the amazing gift you have for our viewers today. Would you like to speak about that, please?
Yes. So I have an empowerment guide that I created. It's got 3 powerful tools to help you heal after a breakup, so that you can move forward with confidence and you have clarity on who you are and what you want next. And it'll help you rebuild your self-esteem too. So there's some really amazing tools in there just to help you start that healing journey, cultivate that self-awareness, and figure out who you are and what your needs are.
I love it. So that's going to be, the link will be wherever you see the video. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, Leah Marie. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. It was fun to hang out.
Yes, great. Okay, well, watch out for our next episode. And if you're not already signed up, make sure you sign up to get the whole lot. Okay, have a great day. Bye.